Good evening and welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. It's Monday night. How are we doing, lads? We okay?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, doing great.
It's amazing.
Got a grandstand audience today. We got 𝐂𝐢, got Tibbs, got Addy, got Neil. How are we doing, boys? We all right?
Yeah, fantastic.
Amazing.
Great stuff. So was there any point during that game against Everton where anyone was just a little bit worried that they were going to snatch a goal and just defend like the
Yeah, there were. I figured they were gonna score one goal and then everyone was just gonna be like a center back. I thought if that happened, City, because they were keen and they were like cautious in the choices they were making while attacking, I figured that at one point it might have happened.
Well, you know, it took a while. Kevin De Bruyne obviously made a massive impact when he came on, but obviously late goals from 𝐂𝐢 and Kevin broke the resistance. And I thought Everton did well. I thought some of City's passing in the first half was fantastic, though. I don't know how you guys read it, but with me watching it, we didn't do any live, so it was quite nice not to do a live watch along for the game because I could kind of watch it as a bit more of a fan rather than trying to be overly judgmental on some of the players. But I thought some of the passing and moving, I thought it was fantastic. We just struggled in that final third again to find an opening for a goal, didn't we? What's your thoughts on it, 𝐂𝐢?
I think when we started the game, I noticed first how our back line looked a bit different. I saw Diaz and Laporte pairing up, and then I saw Walker and Fernandinho a bit higher up. And something just seemed a bit off. And then I noticed that 𝗧𝗵𝗄 was so much further up the field than what he normally was. And it was like Pep adapted to a back five differently to how he has done in the past. And it was sort of like we always had an option open because instead of when they've got a back five, normally we're outnumbered. But with 𝗧𝗵𝗄 moving up and having, Bernardo available as well to push up, we had Gundogan pushing up. We kind of had like 6 players who were all able to move forward. And then, even towards the later half, I think Diaz was our furthest man back, and he was still in Everton's half. It was fantastic to see. But it's nice that Pep can change things like that and take our level higher against what I'd considered back fives to be our kryptonite without tinkering with the formation much. And I've got a feeling that alteration that he made with 𝗧𝗵𝗄, among other things, might have only been done in the time where the team sheets were announced and he was like, right, we're playing against the back five. This is what we do. And everyone carried it out perfectly. And then when Kevin De Bruyne came on, he took us to an even higher level. It was just great to see.
It's a funny one, Tibbs. I'm going to come to you now. We seem to almost struggle in front of goal. I know Sterling had an effort that was tipped round the post by Everton's third choice goalkeeper, I think it was. Who I tell you, he made one or two really good saves. Actually, I think we were quite fortunate with Gundogan's goal just fell nicely to him, didn't he? But what's your thoughts on our starting 3 or 4 up front, Tibbs, and where could we have done better?
I mean, we know that we can be effective, but it feels like almost the entire season we've struggled with that final, not even final third, like final 10% of the, like being in the box, I guess, of just closing down the opportunity. We're able to create a lot of chances, but we still have issues with that final chance in front of goal. Kudos to their goalkeeper. I think it's something that watching the game here in France, the French commentators were saying like, well, this guy is doing a great job considering the level of exposure and experience he's had. But it's what, looking further down the line, has me a little worried or concerned for when we get to the Champions League, where you need to take those chances. The level is higher when you get to the last, quarterfinal, semifinal. So I'm a little bit worried about our ability to close and really score, lock it down. But for the rest, as you said, like great passing, great technical skills on the pitch. So I was happy with that part at least.
Right. Neil, Addy, I want to come to you two about the resilience that City showed. We've won a lot of games in the last 4 months. For me, to be able to adapt against a really rugged and rough team like Everton in that last 10-15 minutes is going to be a big decision maker to us for the final month and a half left of this season, I think. Where do you think that mental strength comes from to be able to, or is it just purely the strength in depth we've got on our bench that's able to do it, or do you think there's more of a roughness around City's personality to be able to go and win games rather than peter out to draws?
I think City shows that amazing confidence going into games, especially Pep's confidence in the squad itself. As you see today, he started. He didn't start many of the usual starters. He started Stefan in goal, uh, Stones and Cancelo are on the bench, as well as who was it? I think that's it, and KDB and Rodri as well. He showed amazing confidence, which is what I think City brought into that game. Even though it was late, they did pursue that goal really well, and they eventually they made it happen. That win.
What's your thoughts, Neil?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a combination of factors. First of all, momentum helps a lot because we've been winning so many games. You have that confidence and you have that momentum to keep winning. But equally importantly, our bench is also pretty handy. I mean, it's nice if you can get KDB to pop on for 15 minutes when a defense is not opening up. So yeah, that helps too. But I think our momentum and our belief this season has been a higher level to in the past. Like last season, for example, I wouldn't see us winning the game. Last season, this would at least, best case, gone to extra time. But this season, we just have that extra, zip or extra little 10% about us which we can tap into when we need it. And yeah, that's working very well so far.
It's funny that, Cloud, I want to come to you now, because that extra 10% that Neil mentions there, and all the things I see on Discord and Twitter about City being an oil club and etc. etc. Obviously, we've both said on here we have to buy well. It's all well and good having money, but if you don't buy very well, you don't go anywhere. City are able to tap into on our bench. I'll just read out our bench for you: Stones, Aguero, Rodri, De Bruyne, Torres, Mendy, Mahrez, Cancelo, Ederson. It's not a bad bench to choose from, that, isn't it? If we're struggling to make that deadlock.
Yeah, I mean, those names that you read out, with the exception of maybe Mendy, depending on the team, I think every single one of those players on the bench gets into pretty much every team in the Premier League. And I don't mean just their bench, I mean their starting 11. It's fantastic. But there's also got to be something to be said for the players themselves as well, when they're maybe not getting a regular run of games, but they're still going out and putting in like brilliant performances. I mean, Foden didn't get a lot of service yesterday, but he still played with desire. And I think that's very important. Zinchenko plays with desire, and you've got. It's kind of like they're all fighting with each other for places. Whereas you look at other teams, pick United for example, their starting 11 kind of picks themselves. So a lot of the other players, I think of players like Matic or Telles. They've just bought Telles or Cavani. These players they've just bought, but they don't really. It's like they don't even know what their best 11 is. And I always say a lot of credit's got to be given to Pep, where he gives these lads a run of games. Admittedly, there's someone I'd like to see get more, like Aguero and Torres. But as a whole, I'm really happy with our rotation. And even though we've got those players on the bench, a lot of times you don't need to bring them on.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm looking at our the stats from the game. Tibbs, I'll come to you. Match stats. We had 74% possession. I know we passed really well. I know there's a lot of pass and move. It didn't seem like 74%, or maybe that's just me being looking at the game differently. Mm-hmm. We had 15 shots to Everton's 10. Again, that seems closer than what it was. We had 6 shots on target to Everton's 4. So it goes. If you're a neutral looking at these stats, you think, "Oh, City absolutely smashed them 2-0," but it just didn't feel like that, did it? Are we getting to the stage of the season now where we're just doing enough to get through these games without going into that 4th and 5th gear?
Yeah, I mean, so you were going through the stats and, like looking at the total shots, 15 total shots to 10 for Everton, chance created 12 for us versus 7 for Everton. Looking at big chances, though, I only see, looking at stats, I'm looking on FUTPub, which is a similar website to OneFootball. Big chances, I'm only seeing 2, and these are the 2 that we scored. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier. I think we're able to create a lot of chances, And something that Pep mentioned, maybe it was earlier this season or maybe last season, saying, you know, you need almost 100 shots or 1,000 shots until we make it. It seems like we need a lot of different shots to have these opportunities when we play against these teams. Having said that, obviously it did seem like we were in control for the entire game and just waiting for these first few goals to arrive.
It's a funny one, isn't it? It's obviously a really good situation where we're through to the next stage. I was just really conscious that we were going to be grinding out to. Would it be an extra time? See, I don't even know the rules anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even
This
know.
It would
season
have been
there's
extra
no
time.
replay, so extra time and then penalty.
I think I know we've got a couple of weeks grace now with internationals, but I say that we've still got plenty of internationals in our squad who are going to be getting game time. I'm just really hoping that, you know, the likes of John Stones is bubble wrapped. You know, the players that who have had injury problems. I'd like to see Phil Foden play. We'll come on to that in a bit more detail later. I'm asking everybody this now. Are we going to go win this competition? Is this for us to lose this competition, or are you still nervous about the other teams that are in the competition as well?
I think Chelsea is our biggest threat right now, and we're facing them in the semi-finals. But I think that's the bigger game because out of Leicester or Southampton, I think we could beat both of them on our day. But Chelsea under Tuchel, they've been really good. They're still unbeaten under the new manager, and they're playing some. The way they play, it's not too different from us because they also have a lot of possession. They have a lot of time on the ball, but just like us, they don't create too many chances, but they create enough to win. I think their biggest margin of victory has been 2-0 under Tuchel, and most of them have been 1-0. So they're very similar to us. So I think that will be a really interesting match because both sides are ones which want the ball, which are very expansive in possession, and they've good defenses as well. Ours is good, and Tuchel's Chelsea has only conceded like 2 goals, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I think Chelsea are our main threats here. So I'm not like very confident, but I still think if we come out with our A game, we should be able to beat Chelsea as well.
Leicester must be rubbing their hands together. You know, they've got Southampton. All due respect to Southampton, it's a very winnable game for Leicester. I suppose Southampton will be thinking on their day they can hopefully not lose 9-0 and go on and get to a final there. So that'll be an interesting. It's a really good couple of games. This for the neutral City Chelsea is massive. Addy, just extending onto what Neil mentioned there. I've been really impressed with Chelsea since Tuchel come in. I said on the pod a few weeks ago that they're my underdog for the Champions League. I do strongly feel that once they've sorted their defence out, which they have done, if they can go and sneak goals, I think they'll be really hard to beat. What's your thoughts on prospects of us playing Chelsea?
I think Tuchel coming in has turned Chelsea around as an entire team, but I mean, they are doing better as it seems, but I feel City will have the advantage in the FA Cup because City will be starting all their best players. Everyone, it'll be a bloodbath for Chelsea. I feel nothing can stop City in their prime right now. Like that would just be like saying. But yeah, I feel like even though Chelsea has turned around, we won't be going any easier on them just because of the new manager.
I love that. It's going to be a bloodbath. Oh, I love that. That is the confidence that makes me happy. I hope you know this. What's your thoughts, Cloud? You've got to be a bit more. I bet you're not expecting a bloodbath, are you?
I'm not as optimistic as Addy, although I hope he is right. I think it's a great match to have because I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I'm with you. For the Champions League, Chelsea worry me the most out of anyone, with the exception of maybe Bayern or PSG. But Chelsea do worry me. They've got a fantastic manager. He's playing a formation that we're not very effective with. And he's not just trying it out with Chelsea. He used it with PSG. And although it wasn't all plain sailing, he did get them to a Champions League final. So he's definitely got experience and he's a great manager. When I look at their lineups, I'm looking at one now, and what I look at is the midfield two. And Kovacic seems to be the mainstay in there, and he is a fantastic midfielder. He really is. And what I noticed with Everton as well, when Everton were playing that back five, all their play seemed to go through Haaland. He looks absolutely fantastic yesterday. They play through to Haaland, they get it down to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and then he had that sort of physicality where he could hold off Stones or Laporte and then play into Richarlison. So I think there's going to be a really massive battle in midfield against Chelsea. And although I'm not a big fan, I think for a game like that, I think that's when we maybe do need to play a false nine and overload the midfield because they can bring their wing backs in. It's something that I hope we've actually experimented a bit in. Pep can use what he's seen at Everton, how we played there, and then try and overload them because we do need to do that if we play them. We need to overload them. I think the battle is won or lost in midfield there. They've got a back five. Our back line's great. Their front three aren't really firing on all cylinders, neither is ours. I think it really comes down to who can dominate in the centre of the pitch. I can't say that we'll definitely win, but I'm always going to back City no matter who they play.
Yeah, it worries me that they're unbeaten in 14 matches. Obviously, that has to end. And if any team in the country can do it, City certainly can. It just depends on which City turn up. And I think who gets the first goal. I've said this a few times in games City have played. I think if we get the first goal, we can go on. Then obviously Chelsea have to come out a bit more there to us then, which has not been their strong point. And we could hopefully go sneak and get another one. So I'm quietly confident that we can go and do a good job on them. It's just going to be. Is it at Wembley, the semi? It will be, won't it? The semi. Yeah. Of course it is. It's just gonna. It's gonna be a tough one. That, but obviously City have got that experience of being at Wembley. There's a lot of players in there that have played at Wembley over the last couple of years. I think we'll make it our home environment. It's just gonna miss fans, isn't it? Wembley Stadium that's empty. It's just a bit sad. Has the game been confirmed? Now I've seen it's potentially going to be on the 17th of April, but I think it's still going to be discussed of what the time's going to be kick-off. But it's going to be a late one, that isn't it? Realistically, be 4 o'clock of that normally, won't it? Semi-finals, finals, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Still says to be decided.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So
maybe like 5, I guess.
Yeah. Just to add on about what you said about the extra goal, if we get the first goal, I think City will get the first goal, and Chelsea seeing how they've played in the last couple of matches. If the opponent scored first, which hasn't happened a lot, Chelsea usually go into panic mode in the game, and they usually fluster up, and their play just doesn't become as efficient when they're playing. So I think if the City does score the first goal, it'll be sort of a security later in the game.
It's an interesting one, this, because I don't know if you guys have seen City's run of fixtures in April, but we're talking about a match that's potentially 4 weeks away. Before that, I'm going to bring you into we've got a Premier League game versus Leicester, we've got Premier League games versus Leeds, and we've also got 2 games versus Dortmund before we even get to Wembley and play Chelsea. So we'll move segue quite nicely into the Dortmund matches that will be lined up for us. When the draw happened, I wasn't gutted and I wasn't really happy. Dortmund are very beatable as far as I can see on experience. There's just 1 or 2 star players there that jump out to me straight away. You got your Sanchos and your Haaland. Did I hear right that Sancho could miss the first leg? Can anyone confirm this for me?
I think the most recent update is that he went to Dubai to he has a muscle injury, so he went to Dubai to receive treatment to try and get fit in time. But the word is that he's 50-50. So I mean, even if he is fit, there's a good chance that he'll only be a sub for the first game.
Right. Okay.
I think that's a huge advantage for us.
It is. Am I doing a disservice there to the other 9 players they've got playing for them? I think I am a little bit. It's going to be their left back that scores the winning goal. You can see it now. We've not even mentioned them. Cloud, have you got anything to say about Dortmund? You must have a snippet of brilliance somewhere.
I mean, I've watched them play a few times, mainly like the Mönchengladbach game and things like that. The problem with Dortmund is they're a team right now that are being carried by Haaland. And there's clearly stuff wrong in the dressing room. And we saw this take effect with Mönchengladbach as well, with their manager, heading over there. They're not a team that are on the up. They're going to have a new manager in soon. And, Haaland's thrown his toys out the pram. They're doing interviews, asking about his future. That to me looks like a team that's disrupted. And it's shown in the league table. Now, admittedly, he's on fire. He's an absolutely phenomenal forward. But with Sancho out as well, yes, they've got players like Thorgan Hazard there. They've got, is it Hummels playing centre back as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hummels
They
and
do
Kahn.
have some decent players, but apart from Haaland and with Sancho out for the first leg, they don't have City's levels of players. Take the game to them. I know it's a very frightening thing, but I always stand by it. City can beat any team in the world. And with Sancho out, they're playing a different formation. Was it
4-1-4-1.
Was it Cologne that they played last?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
played Köln
2-2.
last.
It's
Yeah.
a 4-1-4-1.
Yeah,
Again?
and they played
formation.
Haaland like that, and he scored 2 goals, but they didn't look as effective, and they haven't looked as effective, minus the phenomenon, of course, for quite a while, and they're leaking goals.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I've been watching them for the past couple of seasons now, and overall they seem to have a strong offensive performance, but they always, over the past 2 years, 18 months, always have about 20 to 30 minutes a game when they're completely unfocused, and it's given their opponents over the past few games an opportunity to really come back to the score. Haaland might score a brace, a hat trick on occasion, but that 20 to 30 minutes usually gives their opponents time to catch up. Opponents that are way further down in the Bundesliga standings.
Yeah.
And so with a team like us, despite what I said earlier about not being able to be as efficient as possible in the box, there is no way that we wouldn't be able to, put a couple goals past them.
Yeah. To add on about the formation, I was watching the Cologne game at Cologne Dortmund. They were playing essentially 5 forwards, 4-1-5. All Hazard, Brandt, Bellingham, Reina, Haaland. They were all over the place in the final third, and then the only person there to essentially hold up midfield was the Hood and Skulls and Meunier occasionally. I think because City plays and holds that midfield extremely well, that will give us the advantage in the game, assuming they run that formation. But because they're running so many players up front, it leaves sort of that vulnerability back in the back line and that midfield, which I think City will take advantage of and score on potentially.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Over 2 legs, I feel really strongly for City. I think if it was a one gamer like the Lyon game last season, which I don't like talking about very much, over 2 legs, I feel quietly confident against Dortmund. I feel quietly confident against anyone over 2 legs, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think out of the draw, out of the other 7 teams, if you asked me to pick one, I would pick Dortmund even over Porto. Because the thing with Dortmund is they just cannot defend. As Addy mentioned in that Köln game, they were just all over the place. They didn't. It was almost as if they didn't want to defend because they just attacked, and then when they lose the ball, nobody wants the ball. Nobody wants to track back. Like when it comes to us, after we lose the ball, our press is one of the best in the league. I've said this before. Like the likes of Bernardo, Jesus, and even the wingers like Sterling, Foden, they all press really well. We have a very good systematic press, and they all work very hard to win the ball back as quickly as possible. Dortmund was like, oh yeah, this is Köln. They're 16th in the table. They're not a threat to us. What are they going to do? They just, yeah, you have the ball. Let's see what you can do. Our defense is going to win it back anyways. And obviously that didn't happen, and they made a couple of really stupid mistakes to concede the 2 goals, and yeah, they ended up drawing. So I think they have an attacking threat, but defensively they're just so poor that I would take them over any of the other 7 teams. So I really fancy us for Dortmund.
I like the sound of that. Let's just look at the other quarter-final legs. We'll talk about the other side of the groupings at the moment. So we've got Real Madrid versus Liverpool and Porto versus Chelsea. We'll talk about the Madrid game, Liverpool game first. I think it depends which Real Madrid turn up, don't it? Really, to who's going through there. Has anyone got anything to say?
I
And
think
with Liverpool turn up.
Madrid, I have them by a lot. If anything,
so too.
Ramos is gonna come back for Salah. He's gonna throw him out of the stadium. If anything, he's gonna get injured again.
It does feel like they've turned a corner. The beginning of the season for Real Madrid was quite difficult, but it seems like they've come out again in recent weeks and here to save Zidane from an eventual sack. And there were a couple of games in the past few months where they were trailing, and then in the last 20 minutes, 10 minutes of the game, they would score enough to either get a draw or even win the game. So it seems like right now they have a really good momentum, which I'm not seeing as much as at Liverpool. I think it's going to be an exciting one for sure.
So
I won't be surprised if Madrid even take over the top of the La Liga. Sorry, no.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So does everyone think Liverpool's going through there? Or Everton? Who am I talking? Right, Everton wish they were in the quarterfinals.
Good to have them.
Who do you think, Liverpool or Madrid, going through to the next stage then?
Madrid.
Yeah, everyone Madrid.
Liverpool.
I got a horrible
It's
suspicion.
50-50.
I got a horrible suspicion Liverpool are going to batter them, and it really worries me that. And I think it's going to be the catalyst to them going, because they're starting to sneak back in now, aren't they? Liverpool. They're starting to get a bit of form, bit of momentum. I think if they get one, they can get a couple. That really worries me about Liverpool. I've got a terrible thought of us playing Liverpool in the final. I can't deal with that in my life at this moment. I just can't deal with that.
I think it'll be Chelsea, but I do think Liverpool will beat Madrid. You know, one thing, I can't take away the team that Liverpool are. I don't like Liverpool. They annoy me as a team. Their fans annoy me. But you've got to give them credit. They're a fantastic team, admittedly. So are Real Madrid. But I think Real Madrid are more in transition at the moment. I don't know if they can live up to it again, especially against a team like Liverpool. I think Liverpool have had their blip. They're going to have players coming back from injury, and they're solving their issue. But then also, I think they've still got that hunger for the Champions League. And I think that's probably what's going to give them the edge. I don't think it's going to be, a sweep for either team. I think it'll be a close game. But for me, I think Liverpool just edge it. And I think Chelsea are going to beat Porto, and I think Chelsea are going to beat Liverpool. And I think it'll be Chelsea in the final against, hopefully, Man City.
But the Porto-Chelsea one, I'm not even giving Porto a hope there. I just think Chelsea are just going to be too strong for them in positions. Has anyone got anything to say about Porto and them potentially toppling Chelsea?
Yeah, so
Go on.
Sorry, it's a jump on my. Alright, continue whatever y'all are saying.
Go on,
Yeah,
Neil.
so I think for Chelsea, I know everyone, all their fans are like very happy they got Porto, but I think Porto will be tough opposition for them because I don't remember Tuchel's Chelsea facing any real staunch defensive side, and Porto are a very staunch defensive side. We saw that against Juventus. But if you look at their last games, they had Sheffield, they had Atletico, but they played with a back four, and they've been with a back five usually, and so they changed the system, and that didn't work for them. They had Leeds, Everton again with a back four, Liverpool, Man United, Southampton, Newcastle, Barnsley, Sheffield again, Tottenham. So they haven't played a side which is very compact and which defends for their lives like Porto do. And to add to that, Porto press really well too. We saw that for their in their first leg against Juventus, when I think two of their goals came as a result of some really good pressing. And again, I don't think Chelsea have faced, bar one or two like Leeds, they haven't faced any serious pressing sides as well. So I think this will be a good test for them. I'm not saying that they won't go through. They probably will. But I think they will be given a run for their money at least. They won't just blow Porto away as most people are expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else anyone wants to add to before we move on to Bayern PSG? Yeah, hit it. Go for it.
One word, Pepe. The ref will become Helen Keller, and Pepe will just start like going full horror movie on the Chelsea's forwards and mid. It'll be foul after foul, and the ref will just. Pepe is, he's a good player, a respectable defender, but once he starts fouling like crazy, I could see Porto just going with one center back as Pepe. It's an exaggeration, but that's just how he plays as a defender.
It's impressive considering how old, quote unquote, he is, like for his age.
Yeah.
But he is him and the rest of the Porto team and the Porto coach. We've seen it when we played them earlier. They are masters of the shithousery. And as a neutral, it'll be wonderful to watch. Just popcorn.
I love that. I'm really looking forward to watching these games, and we'll talk about Bayern versus PSG. This is going to be a belting match. Obviously, a rerun of the final last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cloud, we'll come to you first. What do you think of that game? And more importantly, who's going to win?
I hope that it gets to a point where Tottenham score the winning goal and it's in the 93rd minute and then VAR gets rid of it because I want Pochettino to get a taste of his own medicine. I really do. I've got to go with Bayern. I think they're too strong. I think PSG are a fantastic team, but to me they feel like a Ferrari at the front, and then coming back a little bit. I mean, they do have good centre backs. I'm not going to take that away from them, but as a whole, they're very front heavy. And I think Bayern could deal with that. They've dealt with it once already. I don't think it's going to be a different story this time around. The Bayern squad's fantastic, and the main thing is I'm looking at the Bundesliga table right now. They're currently 4 points ahead. If they can extend that lead in the Bundesliga, they have that opportunity, much like PSG might do as well, where they can rest their important players before the Champions League and have them raring to go. Whereas sometimes in the Premier League, you don't always have that. Like you said about our schedule in April, when you've got important game after important game, you don't always have the rotation that you need going into a big Champions League game. Bayern can have that. And I think a lot of that was how they were so successful last year, because the players had so much energy in every game. And I mean, you look at Davies, who was running down the field, and some of the runs that he made, they were absolutely phenomenal. And if that same Bayern show up, I don't think even over two legs, PSG are going to have a chance.
So I think PSG's biggest problem is their fullbacks and a weak link in the midfield. I think if they had better fullbacks, say Hakimi or someone else, they would have a balanced field. But their fullbacks are the problem. They're going up too high or staying back too late. There's no communication between the back line at all, and I think that's going to be PSG's downfall. You can't keep relying on Mbappe either. He is a wonder kid, but at some point he's going to need the help and support from the other team.
It's the Haaland argument again with Dortmund.
Yeah. They do have Neymar, which Bayern don't have.
Oh yeah.
Or
Bayern have Lewandowski.
I feel like they're going to be out
arguably
for
he's better.
revenge though, which is why I feel if Neymar plays and like the link up between Mbappe and Neymar, like with the passes coming in and that midfield holds tight, they might just be able to get a draw in the first leg, and then it all comes down to the second leg.
Yeah, but I think with Neymar, he's been out for a while now, so he will obviously
He's
need some
probably not
time.
going to be started. Yeah, like I said, if he does even get a chance, it'll probably even result in a draw, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Which team would you prefer to play in the semis?
PSG. I'm French.
PSG.
All of my colleagues, 90% of my colleagues and friends and people around me support PSG. I don't have a team in France. So I would love for City to play PSG and win against PSG. Going back to the PSG against Bayern, Bayern is just a well-oiled machine. PSG on their best day can absolutely beat Bayern on both legs, but on average, if you take a random day, Bayern would show up, do the job, maybe score 3. Whereas PSG needs to be in a good day, because they've shown that they can also have lesser, worse days and worse performances. Whereas Bayern, you just know you're going to get that consistent madness, and there's not much that you can do to stop them.
Oh, crikey. So moving on to staying with the Euros theme and the Dortmund theme, Sam Lee has reported in The Athletic that City representatives have been in contact with 𝗂𝐿 Haaland in the last few weeks, and the wheels are in motion in regards to £141,000 per week signing, which the club have sanctioned. There's also been paper talk today that City are in for a bit more of a modest ings, which would be an interesting one. What does everyone think of this? Is the Haaland story going to be another Messi saga, and we just need to put it to bed or move forward? What's everyone's thoughts of this? Because it is getting a bit samey now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Haaland. Oh, continue. Jeez.
Yeah, so I think it's Haaland or a striker. I think some people are expecting Haaland and a striker, but that's very unrealistic. Now, as far as Haaland goes, I think I read a report somewhere which said that most English clubs believe that Manchester City are favourites, and the only real competition comes from Real Madrid, who, as we have seen, are not exactly at their best right now. So, yeah, I think the main problem in that deal looks to be the agent, but I think we have it fairly sorted, so it shouldn't be so much like of an impediment. So then, yeah, if we can get that sorted as early as possible, it would be nice. But yeah, as far as Ings goes, I think this was reported way back in February, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it's just come up again. But if we don't get Holland, Ings would not be my second choice. I'd take someone like Lukaku maybe, because Inter have some financial worries, so they will have to sell either Lukaku or Martinez or even both. So I would take one of those two. Maybe Kane if he's free, but he might cost way too much.
Yeah, City won't pay the money for Kane. They just
Yeah,
won't.
Daniel Levy is not.
Yeah, Levy won't
Yeah.
let him go for free, will he? And I think Danny
yeah,
Ings is.
obviously not.
Well, it's an interesting. Danny Ings is just. Cloud, I want your perspective on this, and Tibbs. Danny Ings has just come out of absolute left field for me. I can understand why, because I think with City's assist power, I think he could get 25 goals a season plus. I really do, but I just don't. It's out of nowhere. He's not your marquee signing. What's your thoughts, Cloud?
No, I think he would actually be a good signing for us. He's one of the more realistic ones that I've heard. He's got an eye for goal, which is different to Jesus. And my sort of priority when looking at another striker, I want someone with a different profile to Jesus. Jesus is better for them games of build-up play. When he receives the ball a lot of the time, he's got his back towards goal, and then having to then move and then shoot or dribble, it slows the play down. Whereas Danny Ings, you're going to get like a little fox in the box, quick touch, making those runs. I think he would be very good for the system. Where it's come from, I can't say for sure, but he's definitely worth at least looking into. As for the Haaland paper talk, that is a bit of a weird one. When paper starts saying stuff like all the other clubs think, Man City are in for it, I love the sort of the audacity they have to print that. Like Daniel Levy and his, transfer staff are all walking by lampposts, drinking Starbucks, going, yeah, City are in the lead. It's nonsense. But I mean, even if we want Haaland and we've got a contract ready for him, we still need to negotiate with Dortmund. And they held out for 120 million for Sancho last year with United transfer rumours, and that dragged on. So even if Haaland wants to join us, it's not going to be easy to take him from Dortmund. They are very good at holding out for what they want, and they will get it.
Yeah, but I think as far as Dortmund goes, this year they might have to sell because last year they made around 30 or 40 million loss due to the pandemic, and obviously they haven't. I presume they haven't recovered due to the lack of fans this season. And if you look at Dortmund's financial model, they do rely on selling star players. Like if you look at their pass from Dembele, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, they rely on selling their bringing unpolished talents in and then selling them as star players. So because they didn't do it last season, I would say there is a high possibility that they would have to sell one of their stars, Holland or Sancho, perhaps even and this season. So yeah, obviously well, they might want a three-figure sum, but for Holland, I think it's worth it.
I think they'll sell Sancho. He's got 2 years left on his contract. If you had to pick one of them, you've got Haaland you can stay with for another season, get you into Champions League football. If they hold on to Sancho, he's only got a year left on his contract. So I think he's going to be the one to go.
Do you think there's any truth in the rumours that Haaland's got a release clause, 60, 70 million euros next season? And there's been loads of rumours flying around about this. Surely, if they want to make money from it, they're going to sell him this season.
The sporting director confirmed it, if I'm not wrong. This happened a month ago, but I think he did 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗏 or whatever his name is. I think something like that.
So if I was Dortmund, I'm thinking to myself, well, we either capitalise on getting an extra 20, 30, 40 million now, or we sell him next season for 75 with guaranteed Champions League football. It's a tough one, that.
Yeah, for sure. And keep in mind, right now, Dortmund is nowhere near guaranteed to be in the Champions League next season. It looks like their only way almost to get in would be to win the trophy this year, which, let's be realistic, I highly doubt that this is happening. So it's very likely that they might have to sell, whether it's Sancho and Haaland or Sancho or Haaland. That's to be determined, but the financials are going to hit them really hard this year.
Yeah, I believe Haaland said that he preferred the Madrid transfer over the City transfers a couple of days ago. I don't know where I saw this. It was on VR, but I think it's improbable that he goes to City. He's just I feel like he wouldn't fit in Pep's like system of how he plays. He's sort of put as the lone striker at Dortmund, and that's how he's played at and this team. I just really can't see it happening for
See,
that
it's
trend.
funny, isn't it? I just think you build your team and formation around Haaland when he's fit and able to play. It's a funny one that. I know what you mean, Addy, because you drop him into the squad that we've got now, and the way we've been playing for the last 4 months, there's no position for him because we're doing so well. But if we had Haaland in these last 4 months, who knows where we would have been and how many? Let's face it, we're a bit short up front, and Haaland's going to have to work a bit harder in a Pep team. I think he could fit in anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember he's still just 20, so he has time to learn and adapt. And whenever a player comes into a Pep Guardiola team, he will have to learn something new and he will have to adapt. And we've seen it with all of our signings under Pep. They usually take 1 season to reach that level, and then once they get that level, they start firing. Mahrez, Bernardo, all of them. So, how he fits in our system is obviously tricky, but I think towards the last few weeks when Sergio Aguero has been back, he's most comparable to Haaland from our team because he's also like an out-and-out striker and a clinical finisher and a person who always wants to be right at the end of the attacks and not really involved in the build-up. But yeah, I think the way Aguero has played, it gives me encouragement that there is a possibility that Haaland coming in would not absolutely destroy our system. Like we could work something out, preserving both our system and his strengths.
I've just seen this could potentially rule Danny Ings out for City. If he signs when he signs for another club, Liverpool get 20% of the sell-on.
No, thank you.
That's ruled it out for me. It's a no, Danny. I'm afraid, pal. Sorry, pal.
Did any of that happen with Sterling?
We paid them.
No.
All the money.
I'm not sure. I think we paid them outright, didn't we?
Oh yeah. Okay.
We bought them from them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny one with Sterling at the minute, isn't it? We'll move on. So look, I mean, April for us looks absolutely bonkers. We've got some super killer games. We just need. I'm going to try and loop this conversation back to where we first started with the mental strength needed to get through this, and the games we've got, and obviously finishing with a League Cup final against Spurs. We'll talk a little bit about that now and the games going through to it. What are you expecting from April from us? Are you expecting us to have a clean sheet of wins, or a win or draw? I kind of need to know where everyone else, because I'm thinking we need to have a 100% record in April to do anything and lift a trophy. Obviously with the League Cup at the end of it. How's everyone else feeling? And are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling a bit pessimistic? How's everyone? Tibbs, I'll come to you first. What's your thoughts of April and what we face coming forward?
I mean, so far, 23 wins out of 24 games or so, or 23 unbeaten out of 24. So I know these are big opponents. I know that somewhere in there's also Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds and, the obviously first leg and second leg of the Champions League. But I mean, we've been doing so well. We have so much momentum. I want to believe, and if we need to grind out a 1-0, a 1-0 win, let's do it. But I do believe that it is achievable. It's we can grasp that. Will we do it? Great question. Don't know.
So yeah, just to reiterate, we've got Leicester, Dortmund, Leeds, Dortmund, Chelsea, FA Cup semi-final, Spurs, League Cup final. They're massive games. Cloud, what's your thoughts?
Every single one of them is a massive game.
Give us
Every
positivity.
single one of them. But I mean, you asked me this question just before we entered February, and I think my response was, "We'll smash them all." I think we won them all, and my response is the same now. Yeah, we're Manchester City. We'll smash them all. They're all big games. Let's win every single one of them. So I'm never going to go into it with negativity. We're Man City. We've got the players. We've got the manager. We've got the mentality. We're just going to go in there and win the games.
Yes.
That's how you've got to approach every single game.
Good lad.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So over the next 4 weeks, then I want you all to pick a player for me. Who in April we're talking about here? Who are you going to be looking out for to have the big games, and who's going to win us those games for us? You can pick more than one. Don't worry.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay.
Ilkay, Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay.
Interesting stat for you. Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan have 42 goals and assists between them this season. 42. Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Midfielders.
Yeah.
But they can't play in the same team, Tom.
I know, imagine. It's crazy.
Kevin De Bruyne makes us weaker. Haven't you heard?
I think 𝐂𝐤𝐭𝐲, at the start of the season, he definitely took advantage when City was falling behind in 10th place. He definitely came for the team and then pulled them back to the top. I think that's where we succeeded the most, well playing him. The goals, the assists, the passes he made. He became De Bruyne when De Bruyne was out. He became the De Bruyne 2.0, I feel.
Yeah, there's one more name I'd like to add. That's Riyad Mahrez. I think he has been overlooked a lot during this run, but he has taken his game to the next level. Because, you know, there was a point where he was becoming too predictable. He'd go, he'd receive the ball wide on the right, and then cut inside, and then he'd shoot. It was becoming too predictable, and defenders had found him out. But now he's taken his game to that next level where he's got that dynamism to go back outside and cross with his right foot. He's got, I think, in March, he got 3 assists with his right foot. One of them was an own goal. So yeah, he's added that dynamism to his game, and he's always had the quick feet, and his first touch is just, I don't have words for it. It's just beautiful.
I think he's got one of the best first touches in the league. He must have.
Yeah, easily. The way he does it is just unfair, borderline. I mean, the ball is coming from like the other side of the pitch, and then he just puts a foot out, and then boom, ball's dead. And yeah, he's always had that quick change of direction. But now with the dynamism, the defenders now they don't know. Okay, will he go outside? If I let him go outside, he could still cross and lead to a goal. If I let him go inside, then he's got that magical left foot which will curl it into the top corner. So I think he has really stepped up, and I hope to see more of the same from him.
What about you, Cloud?
I think Rodri. I think Rodri is going to be the standout player for us. Like I said, Everton, they've got Haaland to play through. Chelsea, they've got 𝗂𝐤𝐭𝐲 is the name I'm looking for. And I think when we have Rodri, we have like a central point that we can move through. A lot of the times, what he does goes unnoticed, which is natural for his position. But I think with him progressively moving forward, defensively we're fine, but progressively moving forward, I think he provides something different. And that's kind of what I saw Laporte do against Everton when we had Fernandinho. He came forward a lot, he created a lot. And then when we played against Fulham, John Stones was doing that as well, where he was coming forward down that right wing. So I think Rodri's going to bring something phenomenal to our game.
He seems to have really stepped up as well, doesn't he, the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's a really good shout. 3 midfielders, lads. We're not hearing much for our strikers there, are we?
Well, and sorry to disappoint, but I'm going to bring the L word into this because I would select Laporte, Aymeric Laporte, my man. Still waiting for his national team call-up.
What has he done to Deschamps? What has gone on there? What's happened?
How does Longley get?
I don't know why Clément Lenglet from Barcelona gets into the team and Laporte doesn't. I think there's one of it is kind of a controversy. One of it is also Laporte had a national call-up but got injured last season. And since then he hasn't had one, which I'm quite frustrated about. But I think he had a chance to play for France a couple of years ago, and then something about him having the possibility to join the Spanish team rubbed a couple of people in France the wrong way. I don't know where it stands right now, but since he's not going to be joining the national team this time around, I think he's going to have enough time to rest. And I've really enjoyed watching him over the past few games, and especially if you look back at the first 𝐂𝐤𝐭𝐲 goal from just this past weekend against Everton. He's the one who struck the ball and the ball hit the ball. And I was so surprised. He's a center back. He's not supposed to be that high hitting the ball this hard to be on goal, except maybe on a corner kick. And so I appreciate seeing him doing this. And, there were rumors and words and other things a couple of weeks ago about how he was maybe dissatisfied and he might leave the team and whatever. But I think, he's doing a great job at the moment.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, from an absolutely selfish point of view, I wish all City players were not selected for international duties. But we can't always have everything. Kind of, I quite like watching. I quite like watching the lads perform at internationals. Actually, it's a bit different as long as they don't get overused. I mean, let's face it. The next City game is the Leicester game on the 3rd of April.
Yeah.
So that's like nearly 2 weeks rest potentially for a good number of the squad before April really kicks off. I think it's a really good time to get that little bit of rest time in.
Yeah, there's one guy who should not rest though, which is Ruben Diaz, because I haven't seen him rest and I don't want to see him rest because that guy is a machine. He can play 90 minutes all the time and he somehow keeps getting better and better. So I wouldn't mind him playing for Portugal. They can have him.
I do enjoy watching Portugal because there's so many players to root for.
Yeah, there's such a
Diaz,
talented squad.
Bernardo, Cancelo. It's just brilliant watching them. I love it.
I like, Bernardo Silva. That's what I wanted to add. He's been phenomenal at Champions League, Premier League, everywhere. He's just all over the place, and he can play anywhere. He can play midfield. He can play anywhere in the front three. I think that's just where we put him. That's wherever we put him, he's gonna provide for us. He's gonna do everything. He's gonna do everything for the team. That's why I love him.
Just don't put him on goal.
Do you think he's?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I'm looking at Portugal's fixtures now, and I'm a little bit concerned you said that because I don't think Portugal will drop him either. They've got Azerbaijan, Serbia, and Luxembourg. In all fairness, all winnable games, but you're going to want Ruben Diaz at the centre back, aren't you? You're going to want him for all the games.
The problem with national team managers is they've only got the players for a short period, so they're not too concerned what happens to these players. And there has often been times where clubs and international managers have clashed. There's times when players have pulled out of internationals when a trophy's on the line and things like that. So the national managers, they will use them, but they're not under as much pressure to rotate them or wrap them in bubble wrap, as you said earlier with John Stones in England. So it's definitely a concern. And even though those are winnable games, they're not going to take chances with their job on the line.
Yeah, completely agree. And to be fair, I don't think any of us would either. We'd still select him. Yeah, fantastic. Right, I think we're all done for the evening, chaps. Anything else? Any more points to raise before we shoot off?
I don't
I
think
think that's about it.
Lovely. Right, well, we might have to crowbar one in next Monday, and we might have to find some topics to discuss, but I'm sure we can somewhere in the line, lads. But no, listen, thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to this on a podcast, we've had over 15,000 downloads in total, lads, for our podcast. So we're obviously doing something right there. Please leave us a 5-star review. Good night, chaps. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. See you soon.
Bye.